So now, instead of just showing you paper, I'll just read it. Anybody who wants it, I can post it on the community page. But in Psalm 118:22, it speaks of the stone that the builders rejected and becoming the cornerstone. Well, in Strong's, again, is stone, tablet, marble, hew stones, weight, plummet, sacred object, petrified with terror, conversed hard heart. The builders, Strong's 11:29, bara, to build. I think it's to build, construct, establish, edify, create something stable and enduring. Building of the city of peace is not a physical architectural endeavor, but the spiritual temple that the Spirit of God dwells in His people. So rejected would be Strong's 988. I think it's pronounced ma'as is how it's quoted. To reject, despise, refuse, abhor, to spurn, to disappear, to set aside, neutralize, disapprove, refers to those who reject God due to their disobedience or idolatry. Let's see. And then has become in the next word, Strong's 1961, heya, to become, come to pass, exist to happen. Listen to this, to fall out. Express the state of being and unfolding events in the context of God's self-revelation as seen in the divine name of I Am. Eyes wide open. I've actually heard a testimony of that. The cornerstone, Strong 72:18, Rocher, head, chief, top, beginning, leader, ruler. Chief leader of a group, top of the mountain, summit of a mountain. And that's the stone for this part. It's two words, but it's got additional meaning to it. Kanawha, which is Strong 64:38, an angle, a pinnacle. Chieftain, to turn to face, denotes strength, leadership, or a chief figure in the construction or architecture. Symbolizes the foundation of the pivotal element, essential for structure stability and integrity. I didn't prepare this to turn the page. Strong 68:51 is tasafa, willow, popular. The root word means to skip or leap, associated with water-rich environments that grew near the streams and rivers. The willow is noted for its flexible branches and ability to thrive in moist soil, used in the construction of booths during the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, and Leviticus 23:40 refers to that. Can symbolize joy and celebration, but once understood the destructing the weeping willow for understanding the events. What I just talked about. Strong 68:50. Toss off, to chirp, to peep, to whisper, to coo, twitter. Whispering, muttering. A high-pitched sound akin to chirping or peeping, sound by birds. Can also mean necromancy, calling spirits / sorceries. Seeking God, seeking God. They're not seeking after God, but they're doing the occult practices, which isn't going to summon God, guys. Of birds, it speaks of in Isaiah 10:14 and then 38:14. But in 38:14, like a crane or a swallow, so did I chatter. I did mourn as a dog. Mine eyes fail with looking upward. O Lord, I am oppressed. Undertake for me. Undertake for me means to be my security, to have fellowship with God. And if you ever hear the mourning doves, their coos they have, and then you can hear the chirping of their wings when they fly. All right, now the next part. I was looking into the word honey, which is sweet, like the sweetness of a mother's love. Strong 1706, Davash, dabash, honey, syrup, to be gummy or sticky, sweet substance produced by bees, valued for its sweetness and nutritional properties, represents abundance, delight, richness of God's provision, prosperity and the blessings of the promised land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Describes manna, because in the Bible, I didn't write it down, it talks about them being white discs provided by God, sweetness of the law of love, for love doeth no wrong. Well, the white disc, in correlating into the body, because everything, has meaning on earth too, it's your vocal cords. When we innovate and we looked for the V, your vocal cords, that's your spot to aim for, to put your tube in, to breathe for people that are not breathing. That's kind of ironic. Strong's 5317, no fats. A dripping honey to distill. Honeycomb structure made by bees to store honey and pollen. And it has to be the perfect temperature. It has to be perfect humidity and the drying time for the honey to have the perfect moisture content. They naturally know how to do this. And if you watch honeybees, they are absolutely amazing creatures, how they work together. Because it takes all the honeybees together working to keep the hive alive and successful. Describes pleasantness and desirability of wisdom and righteous speech. Honeycomb and the purest form of honey, especially prized for its sweetness and purity. Shaking to pieces a dripping honey, noof, I think so you pronounce that, to wave, to move, to and fro, to sprinkle, to brandish, to quiver. Concept of offering, presenting gifts to God, to wave something to and fro, back and forth, the wave offerings, the palms. The act of presenting something to God and acknowledge His sovereignty and provision. In the redemption of Zion, dwelling in the place of God with His people, Zechariah 2:13, be silent, O all flesh, before the Lord, for He is raised up out of His holy habitation. Whoa. That's crazy. Okay, and then in Revelation, it speaks of the eyes of fire. These kind of go together, even though they don't seem like it. But when you're talking about God, it's everything that correlates together. So the apple of His eye, touch not or be burned. Warned not to take fire into your bosom. And it also says not to touch the ark of the testimony, which is the new thing, not the ark of God of old. God Almighty's love is a consuming fire. When the Father sees true love, He reveals Himself. Eyes of fire. Apple. The apple in Strong's 892. Baba is apple, something hollow, pupil of the eye. The word for blind can relate to the sight and protection of a metaphorical sense. Eye is sight and perception. Signifies something precious, delicate, and in need of protection. God's care and protection over His people illustrates the intimate and watchful relationship with God and His chosen ones. The eye is considered the most sensitive and vulnerable part of the body. Like I said, I was taught, if they can't look you in the eyes, don't trust them. So in Zechariah 2:8, for thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory, He has sent me unto the nations which spoil you, for he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of His eye. And then, of course, the rising up and the silent to be flesh is in Zechariah. They kind of go hand in hand. But in Strong's 5869 AN is eye, sight, appearance, spring, or fountain. To flow in the original word. Well, pit, or spring. So your free will decision, whether you have a dry well, empty well, bitter water, wormwood, or sweet waters, you eat the fruit of your mouth. What comes out of your mouth will come back onto you. That's why we're telling you all to be careful with your words. The physical organ of sight denotes perception, understanding, and insight, and can refer to a spring or fountain, emphasizing the idea of something that flows emanates like tears from the eye, water from a source. When the woman felt all her sins are forgiven, when she just saw him, she didn't reject him, which is the ultimate sin. She cried tears of joy, and then wiping his feet with their hair, because a woman's hair's for glory. She knew her sins were forgiven. And the sin she didn't reject. She cried tears of joy, the gospel of peace. She washed his feet and then used her glory to wipe them. Gospel of peace. It's nothing you can do, it's a gift. The eye is the window to the soul and symbolizes one's inner thoughts and intentions. So in Strong's 5868, ayam, eye, spring, fountain, strength, aglow, scorching, mighty. The ability to see and understand spiritual truths, the symbol of one's inner vision and understanding. So in Psalm 90, it's a prayer of Moses, the man of God. And in that, I got out of, Father, all in all, is sovereign. Some are the light bearers, some are the lightning, thunder, and lightnings. Then others hide in fear and sit down. These proud and boastful will see and hear and will melt away as if they have not been, for they have set themselves up as God and not, but are just men. The Father is so patient and loving, yet have ye destroyed your kingdom, turning to destruction. Return, ye men, children of men. The Father desires none to perish. Moses was willing to put his own life down to try to save the people. But God allowed mercy and grace for that until he dashed his foot on the stone, and then he went to the promised land but couldn't enter in. That's why we have to be so careful, y'all. We deserve to take the high road, and the flesh loves to rise up, not just as Moses that dashed his foot on the rock. The Native Americans told a parable of the coyotes. Well, if you think about it, you know, you have good and bad living both inside of you, and whichever one you feed is the one that'll come about. And I can bear witness for this. For my wrath, when I'm mad, and let me tell you, I can count on one hand how many times I've been this mad. Makes hell move under my feet, and the people fear it with their eyes wide open. And this happens when a wrong's been done, and I storm with truth and make people run. And that's kind of how I think God's going to do this. We're not going to do it ourselves. It's going to be the Father that does this. So, this one's for you, Jeremy. The opus is Strong's 3789. It's serpent, snake, used of the devil, crafty, cunning, hypocrites, malicious. Ox equals face, eye, alluding to the serpent's appearance or its watchful nature. Genesis 3:1 describes the creature that tempted Eve. Negative connotation symbolizes deceit, danger, and evil. Satan and his demonic forces in the context of temptation and sin associated with the danger and healing. Test the spirits is why we're told this. Cunning and wisdom is twisted wisdom, symbol of chaos and evil. Hello. Worshipping the creature and not God, in deception to lead the whole world into sin. Singular. Rejection of God. Stop confusing sin and sin. Sins are done. As long as you turn from them and don't reject God. The two go together. Rejection of the Holy Spirit is the ultimate sin. The sins, plural, are the seven deadly sins that are paid, but you must turn away from them, just as in Proverbs 6. So in Strong's 3700, optonomy, to appear and seen let myself be seen, to gaze, to appear. Now, to gaze, I think, would be more reference of how they have the gaze of awe, like when God's revealed. But in flipping the tables, well, I guess I should have flipped the tables the other way, but when it says to appear, and it's like a manifestation, ra'ah, it means the bad side. There's both. If there's evil, I can promise you, there's good. Unfortunately, we've just experienced too much of the one than the other. But that's why God's going to flip the tables. The act of believing, or the act of being visible, present, manifesting oneself to others, like the fiery eyes that I witnessed. Divine supernatural appearances, when one occurs, does the one. They open their eyes wide in fear, for even the devils fear and quake. Now in Strong's 3708, hora'o, to see, to perceive, to attain to, discern, beware.